Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chris.
Hey guys, this is Scott.
Welcome to Head to Head. How's everybody doing today?
Oh man, let's not pretend. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother.
Yeah, you bloody liar. I'll use the word bloody. That's what the Brits do.
Man, it's a beautiful day, and the last place I want to be is in front of this building that we're in right now.
In this corporate environment?
Yeah, corporate environment.
Yeah.
That's not well played. But I appreciate that we're not around the trash trucks right at this point in time and slamming the doors and.
Yeah. Well, I could do this. I can make all the noise you want me to make.
That's good work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's on the agenda today, bud?
Calling somebody.
Oh, we're calling out. We're gonna have individual Mr. Michael Malone.
I can't keep track, brother. To be honest with you, I'm just. It's hard enough to remember the equipment and putting everything together.
Yeah.
What's this gentleman's name?
Michael Malone from We2Link.com.
Okay.
So we're gonna give him a call. This is a first for Head to Head, but there you can hear the dial.
Yeah.
And we're gonna give him a call back. It's always a first.
This
Head
baby.
Speaking.
Good afternoon, Mr. Malone. This is Chris and Scott over at Head to Head. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Sorry for the delay there. We just want to make sure we had everything set up properly. I know we're about 4 minutes behind, but we appreciate you still communicating with us today for about 10-15 minutes.
No problem.
So Chris was telling me, Mr. Malone, a little bit about you, but we always want to fill our listeners in and make sure that you guys, they have the ideas. So we'll kind of jump right into it. If you don't mind, give us your 3-minute long elevator ride of what you do, who you are, and then we can start taking a little deeper dive into everything.
Sure. I'm recently a retired colonel from the U.S. Army.
Okay.
I've suffered 2 brain injuries during my service. The first one in 2012 and the last one in 2017.
Ooh.
And I'm finishing up my treatment at Walter Reed Medical Center in Bethesda for my brain injury. And so over the last 3 years here at Walter Reed, I've met a lot of other service members that have had suffered brain injuries and their caregivers, that provide their support, just like my wife takes care of me.
Okay.
And every day is a struggle.
Right.
Whether or not it's trying to remember your medications or keep up with your appointments or, getting confused and getting lost when you're out trying to do things, or most importantly, just feeling isolated because you cannot recall either meeting people before or recall any conversations that you've had with them recently. And so when I suffered my second brain injury, I thought, well, there should be an app for that. And, if I take half a dozen apps, I could, potentially take care of the things I need. The problem is people that suffer moderate to severe brain injuries can't manage a bunch of apps.
Right. That makes sense.
It's just cognitively not capable. And so I decided I wanted to, start working to develop the idea of building an app specifically for people that have brain injuries, and looking at the different apps out there and what they do and what they don't do, and trying to come up with an idea of what makes it easier for those with brain injury to interact in daily life. And so I think I've developed that idea, and now I'm working to refine that idea and hopefully do a fundraiser here in the near future on Indiegogo to raise the money necessary to build the app.
Okay, so you guys pretty much have the platform design or the mentality of the app, what it's going to do, how it's going to help people, like the strategy, the design, the development, and you guys are so you're basically in the growing stages of it, for lack of better terms.
Yeah, we're right now. We're looking to raise money to actually do the programming. We're doing what's called paper prototyping. So if you don't have a lot of money, a good way to flesh out your app idea is to kind of draw out on a piece of paper what you're trying to achieve. You kind of just mock up on paper what the various screens would look like and what the flow of the app would be through those screens.
Okay.
And so we're going through that process right now, and then hopefully that will reduce our costs when it comes to actual programming.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that sure sounds like a lot of work. So for you, and I'll take a little bit of a deep dive there, Colonel, if you don't mind me. So for you, what was the trigger that, besides just the memory, like what day, where were you sitting, what were you doing that were like, you know what, we need to get this out to help more people. It's a great design. It's a great plan. What was your last trigger that you were like, I'm done. We need to make this happen?
I think it was just an overwhelming sense of frustration with myself and not being able to remember people I interact with.
Gotcha.
And my wife at the time, she was up in New York while I was at Walter Reed being treated, and she would keep telling me to go out to the various events that were offered to wounded soldiers, and I would tell her I don't want to, because it's very frustrating when you interact with somebody, say they've interacted with you before, and you interact with them again, and they realize that you don't remember who they are or your interactions, and you kind of see them die inside. They kind of lose the enthusiasm to interact with you, and it's very frustrating. And it's not that myself or other people with brain injury don't want to remember people that we interact with or conversations that we have, or it's just you don't get to choose what you remember. And unfortunately, a lot of people with cognitive impairment have short-term memory issues, and so getting things to move from short-term memory to long-term memory is extremely difficult.
Right. And
that frustration over the first year after my second brain injury was just insurmountable, and I'm like, I just wanted to do something about it. And I was looking like the Army was going to med board me at the time, and I had spent my entire life in service to the country as a soldier, and so I'm like, what am I going to do next? And the thought came to me, is like, well, there's a lot of service members that have suffered brain injuries through this conflict, and my next step would be to take a look at, find a way to help them and myself cope with daily life, and hopefully make our relationships with our spouses or our caregivers better, because my wife doesn't complain, but I know having to deal with all the things that I go through is a stress on her, and so she no longer works. She works full time on helping me with my medical appointments and helping me interact with people and getting me out to be more social.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure you appreciate that. It's a lot. It's a lot to take on for yourself, and now it sounds like you're actually carrying the burden of what she's doing as well. So, at least she's there to help you out and all, and that's a good relationship. So I kind of see the depth of what you're saying here, is that internally you feel like, even though your frustrations are there, you're actually trying to do this so that you can be better relatable to other people, more social, almost get that sense of well-being back when you're around people. Not that you're creating insecurities in yourself or others, which if somebody's insecure about being around you, in my opinion, personally there, Colonel, I say, shove off if they don't have the sympathy to remember and the empathy to believe in what, happened to you and what you're going through, so, I'm sure most people are there for you, and they're on your side, and they're caring and they're understanding. with compassion, but I get it. You don't have to worry about everybody else. You got to worry about yourself, you know?
Yeah, and I see, you know, a lot of my friends struggle, you know, and as they transition out of the military, you know, we have an amazing support network while we're in the military, and in that transition process. But once you get out, you know, a lot of that support goes away. You know, and
Well, that's the truth.
you know, I want to try to enable those people to have, you know, fuller lives post-military. You know, and the economic impact, like for my wife is not working. Fortunately, you know, being a colonel, as I just recently retired, like my income will support our family, but those that aren't as high rank, you know, they need their spouse to work, and maybe they want to go back to work, but they, without having a tool, you know, maybe they can't even work part-time or volunteer because of their cognitive challenges. And, you know, as the U.S. population ages, you know, our parents are going to need support. And so can we use the things that we're looking to do for those with brain injury, can we extend that to the older population? And I think we can.
Okay.
You know, the challenge is to get there, you know, build awareness for what we're trying to do, get people to, you know, sign up on our website to get information about what we're doing, and then build that community of support for those that have cognitive impairment.
Colonel, let me ask you a question about the app and kind of the funding and things that's going to go into it. Has there been any suggestion or advice, or have you guys personally looked into like the Gary Sinise Foundation? His foundation actually helped a guest of ours, Mr. Adam Keyes, who also spent time at Walter Reed and was able to climb Mount Kilimanjaro with two, what would you call those? Prosthetic legs and arms. Gary Sinise Foundation also put him in a home right there, but Bethesda, so he could be close to Walter Reed. Even the Veterans Administration, I think that'd be something that maybe they could even help out on, just because they deal with obviously veterans and brain injury as well as other injuries on a day-to-day basis. And even though maybe the taste in our mouth as veterans for the Veterans Administration is not good, I can tell you that going through some of the stuff that me and Scott are right now going through with the Voc Rehab, it's been nothing but positive. And I think there might be some change coming in the VA under the new administration that's actually going to have veterans being a little bit more taken care of. And at least that's our hope, obviously. Has any thought process, or have you guys reached out to organizations like that to try to help get you guys to start up? Because it seems like it's a valuable thing, this app, to bring the community a little bit more together. Even people that are not like for instance your wife, who might not be personally suffering from an injury. She's obviously walking with you step by step, and there's many other spouses and family and loved ones that just want to be a part of their their veteran or like other people that are dealing with this. It would be a good app for them as well, it seems like.
Yeah, we started to reach out to some of the nonprofits that support wounded warriors. One of the challenges, we're actually a for-profit company, and I made the choice to be a for-profit company, mainly because I like the Tom's Shoes model, where you buy a set of shoes and then they give a set of shoes. So when you're a for-profit company, I feel like we could generate revenue that helps us support those, to keep it up and running for those that may not be able to afford the service, and to keep the lights on.
That makes sense.
And to facilitate funding. So a lot of nonprofits give to other nonprofits, and organizations, corporations give to nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
So since we're not a nonprofit, that is a little bit of a barrier. But right now I'm trying to build up our communications efforts to reach out to more nonprofits that service members and see if they would commit. And one of the things that we're hoping to do with our software is, when we get the app built, is, nonprofits need to spend their money supporting their population. Instead of them just giving us money to help us build the app, what we would like them to do is to pre-purchase licenses for their population. And so when the app gets built, they then provide those licenses to their population to onboard on the app. And so that would do two things, I think, which would be great. One is it would help us in our outreach efforts to get other disabled veterans onto the app. And two, it helps them meet their requirements to serving their target population. Instead of the money being designated as an administrative expense, it can actually be designated as, funds going directly to the service of their supported individual.
Right.
So would this app be like a subscription, or like a one-time, price to then be able to download the content in the app and have all of it at your exposure? How's your vision on that?
So the vision on the app is for those that have either no cognitive impairment or mild cognitive impairment, you could download and use the app for free. For those that have moderate to severe cognitive impairment where you need a caregiver, then there would be a subscription model. And we're kind of working on the price right now. And what that does is you enable what's called the caregiver feature. And the caregiver feature allows your caregiver to have access to the different parts of the app that we're looking to establish. So the caregiver could help you take notes about interactions with people. They could put calendar events, from their phone, add events, appointments and events on your calendar. They could help you track your symptoms. They could monitor and put medication into your medication reminders. And then there's going to be a feature that allows you to identify people and quickly recall your last conversation with that individual.
Okay.
And so they would be able to help you, if you're going out to an event and you've met people at that event before, you could filter for people that you've interacted with at that event, and then you could see your last conversations with them. And then when you show up at the event, anybody that's in that list that you recognize or your caregiver recognizes that's there, it creates a smaller list of people that are there, and you can review your interactions. And so now those conversations they're fresh in your mind, and you can go have a better conversation with that individual.
It definitely will alleviate frustration in the social circumstances as well.
Yeah, so we did what's called a design sprint with a company called Thoughtbot up in New York. And the purpose of the design sprint was to see if we could design some mobile technology that would reduce social isolation. And we did a clickable mock-up of what that would look like. And then I had like a dozen of my friends that have brain injury and their spouses use the clickable mock-up and describe what they were doing and how they would use it and how it makes them feel if that feature was available. And universally, everybody said that if we could design a feature to reduce, that helps them recall conversations, they would feel much more comfortable in going out with their caregiver, or even going out, which is really important to me, potentially interacting with people on their own.
Right.
I know that I have a tendency not to do that, despite my wife's best efforts to get me to do so. I tend to only interact with people when she's there. And I know I'm aware of that, but it's hard to overcome the anxiety that interacting with people when you realize that you don't recall who they are or will not maybe recall who they are in 3 or 4 days.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it's definitely an in-depth process. Do you guys have a timeline involved into when you are looking to, obviously you're working on the drawings now, you've been pushing funding for the programming. Do you guys have a timeline projection for when you're actually looking at a completion date yet, or is that still TBD?
So we're hoping to start our fundraising activity in June. And then we will fundraise for 60 days. On Indiegogo allows for a 60-day fundraising campaign. And then at the end of that campaign, typically 6 months to get the first version out.
Okay.
And so the goal is to have at least a beta in people's hands by December.
Nice.
And
Not too
and
far
what we'll
off.
do is, I've been doing a lot of reading about programming and a programming methodology called Agile programming. And what we'll do is we'll create, the barest features, 1 or 2 of the features out of the 15 that we want, and then get that out into people's hands and have them interact with that while we're building some of the other features, and then get that feedback so we can make things better as we build them. And so you get a little bit of capability, and then over time you get more and more capability in the app. And then hopefully within a year from when we first start our beta, that we'll have 70% of the features that we want, and the features we want in the app in users' hands.
Okay.
Colonel, if there's people listening now that want to contribute now as opposed to waiting until June, is that something that's available right now? And if so, where would they go? And on our end, how can we help and get this out outside of this podcast? Is there a link or something that we could put on our homepage that they could go right into something that they can contribute to you guys at this point, or is that something we have to just kind of hold tight until June?
No, we set up, we just posted our new website, and then there's a donate feature on our website.
Okay.
And so you can, we have it where you can pre-purchase for yourself, or you can donate for somebody else.
Okay.
And so if you go to the donate button, you'll see a bunch of little icons that talk about the services, where you could either pre-purchase or donate. You'll see a little fox. His name is Roger the Fox, Roger, like in, do you understand, Roger?
Yeah.
It was a little play on radio communications with
Good
me.
deal.
But we wanted to have a mascot where you could do a lot of different fun things, where you can address difficult issues in a fun way. And so we had a competition, and the competition winner was the fox.
Nice.
But if you go to our website, we2link.com/shop, that is our donation page, and you select any. You have the ability to donate in $5 increments, or you could pre-purchase 1 month, 4 months, 12 months, 9 months, or you could donate the same increments. And then people who either pre-purchase or donate, one of the things we're going to do on the website and into the app is have a wall of heroes, and that will list everybody who has either pre-purchased for the app or donated for the app. And it's our way of saying thank you back to those individuals.
Very nice.
So just to be clear, if say Head2Head was to contribute, we could just put a domino donation down for you guys to get this thing going. Not necessarily looking for anything out of it other than just the recognition. I think this program, this app would actually be very beneficial in our, not only our veteran community, but other communities around the country. We could put any total amount in there we wanted, or is there something designated there that says, hey, it's $5, or can we put, I mean, is there a limit? I guess is what I'm asking, because we have a lot of our listeners that are veteran-owned businesses and things like that, and I'm sure they would be willing to have a look at your, your platform.
Yeah, there's no limit on the amount you donate. There is a minimum. We set it at $5.
Okay.
And so you can do increments of 5, or you can do increments of any of the other amounts. So, like if you want to buy a 1-month subscription, or you want to buy a 12-month subscription, or if you want to buy 5 12-month subscriptions, you can.
Okay.
And the reason we chose $5 is, well, mainly because there's Visa transaction fees.
Right.
Makes sense.
So there's a minimum 35 cents transaction fee plus 3%. And so if we did it for $1, there's really not very much comes to us, and that's why we set a $5 minimum.
That's good. And like I said, I just wanted to put that out there for the listeners, because I think it's we have a lot of different parts of our community that listen to our show. We have a lot of spouses and friends of military. We obviously have current military and our veterans. We have local law enforcement and law enforcement around the country that listen to us, as well as 9 to 5 men and women that are just trying to find their way and how to give conversation to our veterans and things like that. So I just wanted to make it clear that anybody and everybody could check into your calls here, and if they felt so, to be able to contribute something, even if they weren't looking to actually have the app themselves or any kind of recognition, just trying to do the right thing. So I just wanted to make sure that our listeners understood that. And give me that website one more time, Colonel, because I want to really push that out there for you. And I'm gonna task Scott to put that on our website, so they can click right on our website to get to your website. But what is your website again?
So it's www.we2link, and that's spelled WE2link.com/shop, SHOP. That brings you directly to the donation page and the pre-purchase page.
Very nice. Well, Colonel, listen, I think you guys are doing great things, especially down there at Walter Reed. I'm glad you guys have the connections down there. Chris and I will get this out to our audience. If you need any further support from us, let us know. We want to keep spreading your message. It's positive, and I think that a lot of people, whether they have TBIs from the military, car accidents going down the road, or just in general something happened to them, that this is something that even beyond the military can be pushed. So we thank you for your service, for one, Colonel, and two, we thank you for your continued service to our veteran community and beyond. So www.we2link.com is where you go to donate and subscribe. June on Indiegogo will be the donation time, and then they're going to do beta testing throughout, and hopefully within a year, folks, this will be out there for anybody that's having memory, brain injury, and needs some support on the back end with services. I get that right there, Colonel?
That you did get that right. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it, sir. We'll be connecting with you here shortly. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too, sir. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye.
So that was Col Michael Malone from We2Link.com. I think that's an impressive, could be an impressive app.
We always say, sometimes victories come out of tragedies, man. And it's sad to say that, but it's something that, that's just how it works, man.
Sure does. Well,
you don't, and it's sad to say this, but you don't put a stop sign up until there's been a car accident, right? So at this point, there's been a lot of people that have been hurt, a lot of people having injuries, and then there's obviously a need for this, or he wouldn't have got the support and feedback he needed from the individuals over at Walter Reed.
Well, I think it would actually be an interesting concept if he takes that and he actually makes it community-based, where You know, you have people from all over the country that can go into.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show my age here, but a chat room, right? Or some sort of like, you know, we all have the same element, or we all are in the same boat type deal.
Yeah.
And we all can just kind of lean on one another throughout the country or the world or wherever this app's going to go, and just have that conversation. You know, he obviously is close to Walter Reed, but there's other individuals that either one, they have no shot of getting into Walter Reed and getting the care over at Walter Reed, or they're not close by. So what other places really are? I mean, we have hospitals all over the country. We understand that, but bottom line is some hospitals are better than others.
Right.
So if you got some individual like the Colonel here who can get to Walter Reed, that's fantastic. There's other people that are not going to be so fortunate to be able to get to a hospital like that. So what other hospitals are out there that people can actually say, hey, yeah, I've experienced, and they're fantastic. And I think that if that part was in there, I think that would also be a great idea and great strategy.
It's a great point. I'm sure he'll take that to heart.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, no, we definitely appreciate that. Everybody check out that link if you feel to do so. I'm trying to find the word there, but if you feel inclined, there it is, inclined to do so. It's a $5 minimum contribution. I don't think that's going to break the bank, but it could actually, in the long run, your $5 donation or whatever you can afford, it will add up and help for a good cause. And you know, I for one, I think Head2Head will. Well, I know Head2Head will be putting some money out there. We're going to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, because I think personally, Scott, I think could actually be a very valuable application to help not only our veterans, and
I'll make light of the situation, but even husbands that have wives that husbands can't remember when the wives told them. I was like, well, I wrote you didn't put it in my message minder. So I'm making light of it, right? But
I do that every day, bro.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
sometimes I really don't.
Even people without the injuries, we need the help too. So
I'm gonna tell you something. This is serious. You know what I really forget? The honey to-do list. That just escapes me, brother, all the time.
Yeah. Well, because it ends up right in the trash. That's why. All right, folks. You guys have a good day. This is Scott.
This is Chris.
We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.